Welcome to our show. This is the Boardroom for Women, and I'm your host, Lori Carrese. Today we have with us Annie Ashurov, and she is the founder of MobilEyesNow. I'm very proud of you. I follow you on LinkedIn. I see you all the time posting, quite the content creator, and running a business. And this woman is hustling. So I'm really excited to have you here today because we want to hear about the hustle and drive, how you got started. There's always that pivot as you become an entrepreneur. But let's start, a little bit more about you and your business and how you transitioned.
Yeah, so I've been in the optical industry 17 plus years now. I started actually accidentally in the industry because I lost my father to a stroke at 46. And so I walked around at that point to every store in the mall, passed out my resume, and had to figure out, how do I help mom? Because I have a younger brother. And LensCrafters called me back and I became their part-time sales associate. And it kind of started to go through there as I went to CSUN for college and studied management and business. And then from there, I became a licensed optician. So I kind of kept the roadmap, even though I was studying management in the optical industry. At that point, I was managing Warby Parker stores and LensCrafters stores. And then I had my first child and realized that working every weekend, every holiday, having the blackout dates that you can never take New Year's Eve on a, family Big Bear trip or things that, families want to do, but you can't. So I realized that although it was great, it taught me so much and really just trained me to go my furthest that you can possibly go. And I was trying to find out, what do I do next? Where do I apply? Applied to roles that didn't really fit who I was. And somehow I, came up that there was a huge gap in care for just having vision or eyewear services in the mobile world. There was just nothing like that in the state of California. Some states have different laws. Some are licensed states, some are not. So you'll see in the Midwest, there are, mobile optical companies, but nothing like it here. And so we're super busy, whether we're entrepreneurs, how many seniors out here retired living in communities that, maybe they're bedbound, maybe they're in memory care, maybe they're nonverbal and they can't tell you they can't see. And so there's just a huge gap in care. And I was introduced to Dr. Rad, who also was subleasing from LensCrafters, still currently does. And during COVID, her office was closed for 7 months. So that's how she got into the mobile world. And once we met, we realized our businesses really complement each other and we started to help each other grow. And I ended up leaving my management LensCrafters role to work for her full time, at the same time growing my company on the side through, her referral base or anyone that I kind of met in between. And about a year ago, I went full time on my own, where we now refer to each other. And, it gave me flexibility to meet people like you and participate in the boardroom and meet people through there that, would teach me or inspire me and just kind of push me to go those next levels, even though we're tired. Because, mom, at the end of the day, when the work day stops, the next shift starts. And so it's,
Right.
how that goes.
Oh, yes, yes. I have two kids at home, now teenagers, self-sufficient, one's driving, but I remember many very long nights where I'd be working in the middle of the night because the house was quiet.
Yeah.
Or because of course I'm a volunteer mom once in a while for field trips and everything else. And it's really hard to, figure all that out, and it takes some time. And I also think it's important to do. So actually, I'd love to tap into the motherhood part of running a business now that you've mentioned it. But you also said something that was really important about identifying a gap and you filling the gap in a market. Clearly, when you start a business or even provide any service, it's about, is the service needed? There's need, desire, and budget when selling anything. I learned that, that was the common statement in advertising, but it really applies to absolutely everything. Are you solving a problem? Is that is why someone shows up, because you're solving a problem. So tell me a little bit more about the mobile need, especially you're talking about in the senior space. I know you work with a lot of different communities, not just seniors, but that seems to be a little more of your niche.
Yeah.
And more of a need. And you mentioned the Midwest. They definitely like a lot of mobile services because of weather.
Mhm.
I lived in Chicago for a year, believe me. I mean, that was
Yeah.
before like DoorDash and everything else.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
on those days where instead of shoveling snow, having a service, readily available, that's amazing. Something to think about also. But tell us a little bit about the niche and the gap that you found here locally.
Yeah. So originally, when I came up with the idea, I was going towards helping people that were in rehab communities. And so actually not even elderly, but just, the general community that has to go through a 30, 60, 90 program and maybe their glasses broke or they lost them and having to go through withdrawals as you're trying to treat yourself and not being able to see. For me, that's what kind of like connected. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to do that. But then someone said, you've got to meet with Dr. Rad. She does the mobile eye exams. And so I linked with her and we kind of started to build out more so of the senior world because that's how she was working at the time. And, with mobile physicians sending her referrals, she would then send them to me. And so we're now in that like little triangle.
Well, it's great to have a network
Yeah.
also to rely on because, starting your own business and feeling like you're twisting in the wind, doing it all yourself. In my space with events, I am a creative person. So I launch like a small percentage of everything I'm thinking about in my head. But it's also difficult because I don't know other event producers. So I'm grateful for ChatGPT these days, who can kind of help streamline and keep me
Sure.
focused. It's actually like my Lori, stay focused manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is. I need to give it a new name. The focus. It'll be something about eyes. Yes, I'm gonna get inspired here by you by looking and focusing. But it's nice to have a network that you can lean on and somebody with just as much energy, it seems like, and also having opportunities to be mentored or coached. I know you love being involved in coaching programs. I do as well. It's just so nice to actually have somebody else's energy and expertise,
Yeah.
just push you through.
It inspires you too.
It's not even always the most relevant content. It's the inspiration, I feel like. So
like if I see somebody posting and I'm like, God, I haven't done something in a couple of days. I got to get it together, And so we all kind of push each other, even though we may not know it.
So I mentioned I used to run advertising, old school advertising, this was back in the newspaper days. So a lot of people push, content on social media or they network, influence someone to step out of their comfort zone on maybe if you have a startup business, how you started approaching promoting yourself.
I think it was taking every single opportunity, whether I was sure about it or not, visiting all the different groups that people would recommend that were in person. Sometimes I'd get recommendations to, follow certain Facebook groups online, whether it was opticians on Facebook or AI, right? And there's different people in these platforms that kind of teach you or help you grow or refer to you. And it became like its own community. Actually, those people end up being more of your supporters than some of your own friends and family members,
Yeah. Your work friends.
Yeah, your work friends. Yeah, because they'll be liking all your posts, right? But that support is there. So we kind of then support each other.
And you're very in person.
Yeah.
A lot of networking events and then you start speaking at them as
well.
Yeah.
Got one coming up on Wednesday that I'll be speaking at.
Stages of being being comfortable in front of people.
Absolutely.
Getting on stages. We'll put you on a stage to talk down the road.
Right. Yeah, you got to get out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you'll just keep having the same results.
So back to motherhood. There is the mom guilt. And it's real. Have you found an opportunity to give yourself grace yet? It took me a really long time.
Probably not, because I feel like it's just the hamster on the wheel that never stops and you don't pause to even do that. And the days are so long, but they go so quick. And so, no.
Is there one little thing you feel like you can do or someone has made a suggestion to help you with the mom guilt a little bit?
I think, when you have your kind of core group of girlfriends where they're like, okay, let's do a girls' night, let's do a spa day, let's just kind of get some time for yourself, you kind of have that just little group of people that give you a chance to
It really is
do that.
actually fuel for yourself if you can give yourself that little moment, and it doesn't have to be often. We're not talking
Right.
about, spa days every week. That'd be great.
Right.
But
But once a year is good too. No, I'm
but
kidding.
once in a while, and the kids don't have to be, cast aside like I'm going out for a vacation by myself.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be something like that. But even I had the hardest time even doing my mom expo because there was a lot of travel. I founded it in Texas,
Mhm.
and when I moved back to California, I was still running them in Texas, and it went national. So I found myself taking red eye flights to set up in the morning of my event, going to a storage unit, picking up all the swag and the tables and everything else, and hype and drape. I was exhausted. I felt like I didn't sleep all day. I'd have one overnight, and my show was the next morning, and it would shut down at 3. I was on a flight by like 6, and I was exhausted.
That's rough.
And I can't believe I didn't completely burn out to a level of abandoning my business. I was so worried about being away from my girls for like a whole weekend,
Mhm.
and my mother stepping in. I am a single parent, and their dad wasn't available. I mean, at the time we didn't even live close to each other, but my mom stepped in. I had so much guilt. It's not like they weren't being taken care of.
Yeah.
Well taken care of by grandma, believe me.
Yeah.
And but there was so much guilt. There was something that was definitely a me problem, not a household problem. But I really feel that it impacted it's what stopped me from traveling. And to be honest, that was like the most successful part of my business.
Mm.
So I kind of look back thinking I abandoned it maybe a little too soon, but it wasn't right for me. And I'm happy and fine with my choice. But I'm surprised I actually didn't completely burn out and just say, I need a full-time job. I just can't do this. So I was able to kind of shift and refocus. Have you had a moment where that came into play where you really had to do a quick fix? Like, this part of my business isn't working. I have to, you know, do it a little bit differently or adjust your family time.
I don't know if it was that it's not working, but because you're growing it from nothing, you have to keep up with the demands of living in Los Angeles here and the prices of your mortgage and food and
Raise your
children.
rates. Is that something you've done?
I have raised
Okay.
the rates based on the demand. And so that kind of goes along with, how far I travel.
Okay.
So if it's something that's local, that stayed pretty consistent. But if I have to drive an hour and a half each way, then that
Set a
time
minimum.
takes away from something that I could be doing locally. And so because it's just me right now, I have to pick and choose where I go. And if somebody wants me and it's at a high demand, there is a price point that they would pay to get me there.
Good. And that's a shift that's not easy for an entrepreneur, is raising your rates and declaring your value instead of slashing your prices so that you can, make rent and car payment.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
And, people are scared to do it. I feel like you just have to do it and see what happens because there was no objection. People are still happy. It's still a great price point, but I was able to grow my business by 30%. And that works
Good
out
for
for me.
you.
So, it's just, you got to take that chance. If you get an objection, then not every customer is for you. That's okay. There's thousands of people in our state and just got to
Right.
find where your customer is.
And yeah, and don't be afraid to do that. And you are gonna, I mean, I recently even had to go to a retainer for some portions of my business to make sure that I got the call back. I could reach somebody because sometimes there's so many touches involved to seal the deal, to even get the no.
Yeah.
So your time is valuable. So definitely if there's if it's a long haul, set a minimum.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific tips for a startup? Somebody who's who has a great idea, has identified the need,
Yeah.
but is just a little bit of afraid to step forward. We're in a difficult economy right now. My personal advice would be hang on to the full time and start something on the
Yeah.
side
Yeah.
until you're seeing revenue. I didn't have the luxury of doing that, and the economy wasn't quite where it, not as scary for me. I mean, I was a little bit in a better position to just go all in. I wouldn't be able to do it today.
Yeah.
But for that startup, the good idea, what's next?
I think that when you have a good idea, use the platforms that are available like ChatGPT or Perplexity, which is what Michael taught me, and you do the research, figure out what steps do you need, ask the questions of here's where I'm at and where do I need to go, and it'll tell you step by step. Stay organized and just take that risk and try it.
Just go for it.
Go for it.
You just have to do it.
Otherwise you won't know.
And don't take a poll on Facebook.
No, I didn't do any polls on Facebook.
Yourself and
Yeah.
what you feel passionate about. Your audience will tell you if it's right. I mean, if you're not succeeding, give it some time. But your audience kind of, it's the after poll.
Yeah.
But that's when you just add in different layers.
Give yourself at least a full year of doing it full time before you expect significant results.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Annie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do this with you again and again.
Absolutely. Appreciate you and everything you've taught me and brought me into.
I'm glad that, not everybody's willing nor wanting to see what others have to offer, whether it's mentorship, coaching, advising, or just collaborating. I mean, I don't call myself any of the above really, but I do feel like I'm great at networking and collaborating.
Yeah, you bring those people together.
Yes. I wish I could just make a business out of professional networking and matchmaking in business. I don't know.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
Thank you.
All right. You've been tuning in, listening in, watching another episode of the Boardroom for Women.